Hi everybody, this is Chris with codeChris.com. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, all that jazz. And here's what I wanted to do was just kind of recap on how things went after the talk. So, reflecting back on it really. And the talk yesterday, so I did a talk, and actually it was the day before yesterday, now it's Saturday morning. So anyways, well, sort of reflecting back on it, how did it go? And I think it went really well. If I was to give myself a grade, I would say I did a solid B-ish, And it's crazy to me, actually giving a presentation on a topic that I thought I would never be, in this field, giving a presentation on. So I think I did pretty well overall, and I thought it was interesting. It's cool because I've been to this meetup before. People didn't really remember my name, and you meet a lot of people. Well, this was different because you're giving the presentation. Everybody remembers your name, and they come to you to meet you and say, "Hey, good job," and I appreciated this. This was cool. Whatever, whatever. And what's also interesting too is it gave me some validation because at the end, people asked. I definitely got across that I was self-taught. At the end, people asked, "Well, where'd you come from?" And I said animation, and we ended up having a quick discussion, and more so afterwards, after the presentation, that about the field of animation and web development, VR, the merging of the two, the niche market that's existing, the sort of gap that's present. And it was cool for me because it tells me that I'm going in the right direction, and sort of that path is being built for me. It's being designed for me, and I'm one of the people that can walk in it. So that's pretty cool. And I hope to do more with that, and I'll share more with that with you guys, and ultimately just whatever this YouTube slash other stuff becomes, now I understand the code part of it, and which is important. Before you do Photoshop painting, you should understand how to use the tools in Photoshop, so you can use your painting skills. So anyways, but the presentation itself went really well, and I would recommend that you give a talk if you can. Try to teach somebody else. I've heard this before many times from many people. If you want to learn something really well, learn to teach it. I definitely can see how that makes sense because I was preparing for questions that had not happened. And one of my biggest fears was like, oh man, what if they hit me with this? I better know. Well, I don't really understand this. I better know. And so I had to do a little extra diving into the topic to really understand it, to sort of be a little more prepared. Now, was I 100% ready for anything and everything? No, but I definitely did better than I thought I was going to, and that's good to know. Also, it helped me become more confident in JavaScript, and actually just change my thinking of it and overall approach, because I was talking about well, what is a prototype and what is prototypical inheritance and how does it actually work and why is it different, why is it confusing. And as I really started getting deep into it, I actually started to see JavaScript in a different light, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's some really cool ideas here, there's some really cool concepts, some approaches. And I don't want to be one of those guys who's like, oh, that's this is the way we should program. This is the way we should program. This is I'm not gonna be. I don't want to be one of those people who's super passionate about the direction of things and what's right and what's wrong. But I can definitely understand why people do get that way. I definitely understand why people would have such an emotional attachment to certain languages and how they're built. Because as I was going through this and starting to understand it and seeing how things were changing, I was like, oh, that's too bad. Uh, so, anyways, but yeah, I would recommend, if you can, go ahead and give a talk. It's really, yes, it's for the benefit of others, but really you give yourself a large benefit. It helps give you some confidence about the field you're in. It also helps give you some credibility. It also helps just meet new people. The hardest thing, as you get older, and it's one thing when you're in school, you come across new people all day long, right? But when you are out of school, right, or if you're not going to school, it's more difficult to meet new people, let alone new developers. Now, of course, there's online groups, online communities, online whatever, and you can meet other people that way, and that's pretty cool. But to see somebody face to face and have a conversation with them, there's a lot that happens with body language and just that face to face communication that is really helpful and overall engaging for us to talk about code, what we think about the future in the industry, all that stuff. So if you go to one of these meetups and you give a talk, the cool thing is people come up to you. They thank you for your time, and they thank you for the presentation if they like it, and thankfully people seem to have, or at least they did say so. And what's cool about that is you get people who you want to make contact with, who you want to be like, oh, hey man, what's your name? Like, oh, that's cool. What project are you working on? They'll come to you now because you've established some credibility. You've also just the fact that they just watched a presentation of yours, they know your name. People didn't know my name was Chris before, and now they do. This isn't my first time going to a meetup, but I think it is the first time that my name kind of like sticks in there now. And I met other people's names much better too. So it's a nice way to break the ice, especially if you're a little bit more shy. That doesn't necessarily apply to me, but I definitely know for others it'd be really, really good if you are very, very shy. Give a presentation. People will thank you afterwards. People will talk to you. Because think about it yourself. If you've ever been to one of these things, you've really been to any sort of lecture on any particular topic you have interest in, if you have a chance, you want to talk to the guy who just gave a presentation because he is the guy on the topic, right? Or you want to know his insights into things. You have questions and that kind of stuff. So definitely just something I would recommend, and it doesn't hurt and just makes you overall better at what you're going to be doing. So, and reflecting back on it, it was just overall a really cool experience, and it did take some time, some preparation work. I didn't want to be super heavy on PowerPoint slides. I didn't want to be like, okay, so here's like all the text, right? Most of my PowerPoint slides were purely for me to remember where I'm at with my stopwatch. I had a stopwatch going on so I could visually see like, okay, like how am I doing on time? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? The funny thing is I had practiced this and I had slowed myself down during practice, and I was at about the right spot, right about an hour. When I timed myself, the first 15 minutes, I definitely completed at the presentation in like the first 3 minutes. So I definitely was going faster and not remembering quite everything I was going to touch on. And then later in the presentation, I was like, oh, yeah, I should also probably mention that when you go down the prototype chain, it gets the global object. Now you know. So, I mean, there's just kind of that stuff that comes across. And then I found a way to, avoid doing too much live coding. I had read that from other people who do this for a living, or do it a lot at big conferences, that you don't want to do too much live coding, or one of the suggestions was try not to do too much live coding, because people kind of get distracted by the live code. They're thinking about, okay, how are we going to make this happen, instead of paying attention to the concept you're trying to talk about or the overall thing you're trying to teach. And I thought that was a really cool point and idea. So what I did is, instead of having typos and all that stuff, what I ended up doing was I prepped some of the code, kind of like a cooking show where they have like an uncooked chicken. They tell you what to do, and they pull out the fully cooked chicken with all the marinating and the details on top. And so I kind of did something similar, where I kind of had this prep code with stuff that I wanted to make sure I talked about and touched, and that's what I ended up doing. So all that being said, yeah. Anyways, I think that pretty much covers it. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment down below. Any thoughts, let me know. So now I need to think of the next milestone, and I'm actually hitting some good milestones. I had smaller ones too, like to meet other YouTubers, and I am meeting other YouTubers now too. I just had a talk with Telmo, and I'll leave his link below. Actually, later today, I have a talk with Real Tough Candy. That's pretty cool, and I'll leave a link to her below, and also both of those videos. I'll leave a link when they're up and running, and it's just cool to sort of get kind of familiar with some of the online community, and also just people outside the online community, and juggle all this stuff, because it is you have other things going on, so it is crazy that this stuff is kind of happening. I think the next milestone for me, well, I mean, I have like these mini milestones, right? Other YouTubers was a smaller milestone. I want to go to a conference. I've never been to an actual developer conference. So hopefully at this new job, they'll bring me to a conference, or I can suggest one that we can go to, whatever the case is. I just want a shirt, okay? Like, I don't have a developer style shirt, nothing with like a GitHub on it, or just some sort of like programming, a bunch of programming languages, or like some sort of like, I don't know, some sort of coding joke. Like, I don't have that kind of stuff, and I would like to have, something a little bit more in that direction. I think that'd be cool. Well, anyways, so I think that is important, not important, but it would be fun. So I don't know if you have an idea for what my next milestone should be. Please let me know. I am thinking about the direction of animation and web stuff, and maybe like doing some like little tutorial stuff and whatever, because I definitely think there is a gap in that direction, especially coming from an animator. But prior to that, I think there's something else that I need to sort of figure out and build on. What is that next milestone for me? What is that next thing that I need to start building towards? But I think a portion of it is sort of going in this sort of new direction of, you got your skill set down, start getting to the animation side, and start finding out that path. So, but what does that mean? That could mean so much, right? It's a big field, it's a big industry. It's, what do you do? So, anyways, if you have thoughts, comments, whatever, please let me know in the comments down below. Give a thumbs up, like, subscribe. Tell your friends, whatever the case is. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a nice day.